あ、今日はマイク入ってるね、ちゃんと。よしよし。マイク入ってないでまた1時間話すことになるのがきつすぎるから。出るね。
テスト。
よし。Please choice ランゲージ選んでねと。スクリーンと字幕の言語。前にスタンリーパラブルプレイしたことあります？いいえ。パソコンギリギリ見えるぐらいまでスライダー。明るめがいいな。現在の時刻。PM6 時。そろそろ12分になるね。しまった。テレビ設定はメインメニューから。はいはいはい。ピング。足赤く上げとこう。ようかな。で、オーディオはちょっとでかいだろう。洋芸は。まあ、55ぐらい。で、字幕は表示してもらって、コントローラーでもできるのかな。まあ、いいか。あ、感じかな。お待たせしました。普通に始めるか。
This is the story of a man named
スタンリーという
Stanley.
男の物語。
Stanley worked for a company in a
大き
big
なビル
building
の会
where
社
he
で
was
従業
employee
員番号
number
427として働いてい
427.
ました。
Employee number
従業員番号
427's
427
job
の
was
仕事は至
simple.
って単純。
He sat at his desk
427
in
の
room
部屋でデスクに向かいキーボー
427
ドの
and
ボ
he
タンを押す
pushed
だけ。
buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his
は
desk,
机のモニターを
telling
通してき
him
ま
what
した。
buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee
何ヶ月も何年もこの
427 did
作業を繰
every
り
day
返してい
of
た。
every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending,
クソ
Stanley
めんどくさいし。
relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
指示されてきたんだね。
Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change
何かが起きた
Stanley.
と。
Something he would never quite
やっ
forget.
てることないであろうな。
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. no one had showed up to give him
人も会議を開く
instructions,
人も
call a
挨
meeting,
拶する
or
失礼
even
誰もい
say
ません。
hi. Never in all his years at
だ
the
ってこんな
company had
完全な
this
孤立はありませんで
This
した。
complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his
彼は
office.
部屋を出て行きました。感度高すぎる。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he
開い
entered
た
the
ドア
door
があ
on
り、
his
彼
left.
は左の方のドアへ入りました。会議室だね。
Yet there was not a single person here
あれ一人
either.
としていませんでした。
Feeling a wave of
不信感何が
disbelief,
押し寄せる
Stanley
中、スタン
decided
リ
to
ー
go up to his
そこ
boss's
なら何が見
office,
つかるかもし
hoping
れ
he
ない。
might find an answer
あれ
there.
オフィスのオフィスに行くことにしたと。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
こっちかな。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course,
あ、ナレーター
Stanley
がここまで
couldn't
言うわけ
possibly
ね。
have known this.
T5 いくつ忘れちゃった。3? T54 までは聞いたけど。
Stanley just sat around
Ah,
twiddling his
yeah.
thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know
It's
that the combination was
2845.
2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
こんばんは。
こんばんは。今ね、スタンリー・パラブルというゲームをやっています。ナレーターがいる中、指示に従うゲームです。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to
彼は
think
彼
for
自身の意
himself,
見に持
to
ち、己
question
の
the
仕事の
nature
本
of
質に
his
問うことを
job.
より自由に
Why
感じ
did
る。
he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go
こう長く続
unanswered
かな
for
いでしょ
long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
こっちか。していいこれ。していいのかな
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
広いな。下見えないな。なんだこれは。
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
され続けていた。これが
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from his phone. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
解体するんだ。なんだこれ。押せない。ボタンがあるけど、しても何も意味ない。コントロールディスプ。ディセーブルド。オニオン。マインドコントロールズ、アイドル、away.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
けど、システムパワーオフにしてもらおう。え暗闇、そして不安で高まる恐怖心。
Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine. Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
奇跡会場。ビートザゲーム。ということでね、このゲームは一周目ですね、これが。多分一周目っていうか、完全にナレーションに従ったルートだろう。いや、このゲームね、ナレーションに従わなくてもいいっていうのが、 まあ売りというか、あるらしくて、まあ、例えばね、次確かここに分岐があったと思うんだけど、これもね、左って言われたはずなんですよ。これ無視していくっていうのもできるらしい。そのことよく知っていましたみたいな。
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to
こう
admire
結
it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on
橋
his
の左
left.
側のドアに入りました。これに入りましたってことで、無視。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
じゃあ何があるんだ？
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
バンコ行けないしな。出るか。ね。もしもし。
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting.
なんだ
I'm just
こ
pulling
れ
it
何
out of the oven.
あ、海藻
All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
あ、なんだこいつ。
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife?
こうなりたく敵だ
Their
な。
life to you. I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
知らないか。
This is a very
What about
sad
the
story
original?
about the death of a man named Stanley.
Press U on your keyboard.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes
すべての
is a
ボタンは
reminder
彼の
of the
存在自体がどうでもいいも
inconsequential
のであると
nature
いうこ
of
とを
his
思いをさ
existence.
せます。K を押してください。
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
お前の状況同じだぞってことね。
Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now
さ
he's
っきの
coming back
自
to
分の部屋の
work.
テーブル
One
みた
might
いな
even
感じだ
feel
よ。
sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he
出してくれ、マ
returned
ジで。
to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to
ここ
him.
以降いけない。
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
本たち過ごすため J を押してください。
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
夕食の準備するために G。
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
元の部屋に戻ってくよ。
Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
お話を聞かせるために C。
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
伝えるために O をしてください。これか。
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
ために X をしてくだ
And
さい。
I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
なんて言われたの Why? つか
You
ら
see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to
That's
kill
it.
himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
言われた。つなやめよう。I
suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
あ、なくなっちゃった。確かにこれ一瞬動画見たんだよ。昔、無印の方を見たことあって、ここ行ったの見たことあるんだよ。これ印象に残った後ろにあるっていうのは。で、これ、覚えてないな。こんなんだっけ
？Because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
いやいや、よし。え
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. Perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
デジタルサイネージが。壊れてますよ。ワールドワイドリーダーボードできてるけど。ああ。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over.
What?
Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
また取られたよ。
Aha! Fascinating.
あ、おもろそうこれ。
What do you think this game is about?
おもろそう。こういうゲーム好き好き。いいね。
What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
いやー、新しいゲームができるわ。
Oh no. No, 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 it can't be.
何言ってんや。
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
え、なんで？おい。
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. Just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. Out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
穴開いてないかな？え？ロケットリーグじゃない？ロケットリーグだ。え、ロケットリーグマジ？ロケットリーグのここ歩くことないだろ。
Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
ロケットリーグだ。弾出たね。弾出てくるでしょ、ここから。
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see.
おい。
There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
出た。マジでやる。移動速度上がってる。ほら。おー。ジャンプができねえ。
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist.
これでもいいよ、最悪。
One ball generates a certain amount of
対戦相手が一人もいないのがちょっとあれだけど。
Then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes. Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls.
え？わ。こういうホッケーのゲームあるよな。ここの視点でロケットリーグやることないからな。
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun?
おもろげ対戦相手いないとおもろくないです。
Well, I sure hope you're having a good time because guess what? It's over.
まあ、さっきのゲームの方が痛かった。
Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone.
ちょっと、すいません。え、なんだ
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
でもあいつの支配から完全に逃げれたか、これ。怖いな。どこ行きゃいいんだ？こっち行ってみるか。あ、落ちた。あ。え？黒か。予想してないとこ来ちゃったな。もう何本かゲームやって、いやもうダメだわっつって終わるみたいな感じかと思ったら。あそこまさか落ちれるとはな。なんでロケットリーグとコラボしてるとこに分岐があんだよ。ないと思うだろう。 分岐があそこに。ついてるな。あ !427 持ってきちゃった。でもここ427だけどじゃない。もうなんか、何壊れ
I
た
wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to
戻り
a
方がわかん
close,
ないんですけど。
then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
あ、終わった。よし、次だ次。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ね
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he
左は
entered
行く
the
よ
door.
ね。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to
次
admire
ど
it.
こ武器しよっか
The
な。
lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first
一緒に
open door
左側
on
の
his
ドアに
left.
入りました。入るか入ってみ
And
る
so
か。
he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
こうして行ってみるか。お願いします。あ、
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to
痛くないね。
wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go,
しまった。
from
Okay.
here, it's, left.
やり
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it
想
was
定
to
し
the
ないと
right?
これ来すぎたか
Was I thinking? It's
早く
clearly...
してくれ。
Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
で、逃げ出すとか、逃げ出せたりしないかな。いいか。こついちゃったけどいいの？あ、これも、あ、そうじゃん。あそこから見えるとこじゃん。
You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler.
もう見た見た見た。
Close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to...
大丈夫これ。
Who am I kidding?
全部上がってる
It's
し。
all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
また持ったわ。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait. What? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game.
壊れちゃった。
Fresh. Everything should be...
ゲーム壊れちゃった。
Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere.
左のドア開けてもらっていい？
then, it's an
右のドア。
adventure.
あ、じゃあ
Come,
右のドアか
Stanley.
な。
Let's find the story.
あ、 え、これさっきのあそこのドアじゃない？おい、ゲーム壊れたんだけど、マジで。あ？
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was
バックルームかよ、これ。
a story before.
バックルームみたいなことになってる。
Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever
そう？
progress
違
by
うな。
starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this.
え？
Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
あ、よしよし。今度こそ
All
終わっ
of
た
his
かな。
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ないけど、ドア。
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we
あー、
missed
なんか、え
something.
え、
The
あ、
story.
終わった。
Here it comes.
あ、
No, wait.
あれ
Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace
ぐる
our
ぐる丸枠
steps.
じゃないんだ。えおこ、おい、作りかけじゃないか、ここ。
Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't
That's
quite
the-
recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember,
パンも
Stanley?
なくなってるし。
Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
やったー勝ったよし。
I know you put in a lot of hard work. and it
苦し紛れ、ユーミン出して笑おうとしてるな、こいつ。
Oh no. No,
そうだよな。
I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay? I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is.
So-
I don't care what might happen this time. I have
ち
to
ゃんとゲーム作って
restart.
よ。あ、差し
All
入れ。
right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost,
こういう
I've
ライン
employed
引いて
the
くれたね、
help
わかりやす
of
い。
the
え、そっちじゃなく
Stanley
ない
Parable
そっちじゃなくないぜ
adventure
絶対そっちじゃなくない
Just follow the line. How simple is
こんな
that?
とこ通ってないけどな。
You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no
だけどね、
destination
それ。
still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being
こんなとこ通っ
by
て
a
ないけど。
manifestation of the nature of life itself?
合ってるな。
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we
大丈夫？
need right now is a bit
ちゃ
of
んとつ
music
くこ
to
れ。
lighten the mood.
なに ?BGM が急に。よっしゃ、行くぞタロンタロンタロンタロンタロンタロンえ、なんか今おかしくなかったおかしくないおかしくないこれ。おかしくないタロンタロンタロンタロンタロンタロンタロンいつになったらつくの
Cut the music. Go back and look at that
え
fern.
シダ
Stanley, this fern will be very important
線
later
な
in
のかな
the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully.
葉っ
You
ぱ
won't
が
want to miss anything.
葉の枚数とかも重要になってくるんだろうな。あれだろ、シダとユダが似てるから13枚とかそういうことだろ。オッケーオッケーオッケー。
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No, no. Line, you do know we're looking for the
Stanley
Stanley Parable,
Parable してる
right?
だろ。
The story.
あ、おい、また来たんだけど、こ
No,
こ。
not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it.
セットしてた。
Restart. You know what, Stan?
おい。
I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
あ、そっち？ OK。
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be
あ、
anything.
出た。
What do you want
や
our
ると思っ
story
た
to
わ。
be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley.
違うんだ。
I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again.
漏れてるぞ。
Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line.
ライン君漏れてるって。
in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it. We should be fine.
ライン君のが信用できるかも。あ、ライン君どっか行っちゃった。あ、置いてかないで、ライン君。もうライン君も帰っちゃったな。
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley. Our destiny awaits.
いいから。ミュートはね。あ、お、俺じゃん。なんこれ。
Hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is?
スクリーンショット撮っ
It's
た。
all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined?
あ、違うわ、これ。エンド部全エンディングじゃないわ。
I restart again.
なんだ。
Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget?
このエンディングに向かうための
simply because it's written here on
ラインね。
this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The,
ナレーターがいなくなる。ついにスタンリーが死ぬって書いてあるけど。
Will someone come for us?
違うでも、Will
something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey.
あ、でも今ここか。
Life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are.
今これ止めようとしてるんだな。
We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
何？大丈夫かこれ。これ正規のリスタートか？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
正規のリスタートっぽいな。あ、ドアがある、ドアがある。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
こんなエンダー終わったみたいだな。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled.
米犬の関連みたいな MV になってるって。
What a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
浮いてる浮いてる浮いてる浮いてる浮いてる。
Soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun. And Stanley marveled that he had still.
マジ近いかないよった。
How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
なんか主人公が浮き始めました。主人公が浮き、星々が舞う世界になりました。でもなんか地に足ついた。一生同じところループしています。
The truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
ナレーターが一生の気を垂れてくるんだけど。さっき一瞬言ったんだけどな。
He knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself...
目が閉じちゃう。
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back.The fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
当一に再配信って出てるの俺だけかな。なんでだろう。
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley.
ちょっと待って。危ねえ。なんだ？再配信。これね。これはあれ、確か、もう一回、これアーカイブとして出すかもよ、みたいなのを、なんか、お知らせするために出しますかって言われたから出したんだけど、そう出るんだ。なるほどね。だからこれ大丈夫なやつ。大丈夫なやつ、大丈夫なやつ。
I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be
real. 視界が、赤い。目が痛い。頭おかしくなっちゃう。頭がおかしくなっちゃうよ。
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal.
息にやばい人ってこういう風にできてんのかな。
I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this.
ナレーターが他の人のナレーション調べたんだけど、もう一人死んだから他のやつに乗り移ったんかこれ。
And then she turned and ran.
なんかルートとかって見れないんかな。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
あ、こんなん開いてたか？ニューコンテンツ。あ、もしかしてあれか？デジタルデラックスエディションだから解放された？
Oh, new content? What does that mean? New content?
コンテンツ。どういうこと？マジで。知らんけど。なんかこれ、ポータルみたい。あ、大丈夫これ。え？何？
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable
あ、どうも。
Ultra Deluxe.
いやー、日本語にアップデートされましたからね。
The Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013.
はいはい。結構ね、昔のゲームだよね、このゲーム。本当は。
After receiving critical and commercial
デ
success,
ィズニーのアトラクション？
expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable
はあはあはあ
Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
最近出たからね。文化もされ
The
たし。
Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley
Wow.
Parable, delighting audiences the
こ
world
れ、あ、
over.
いいね。
Please
お、ニューコンテン
step
ツ
inside and see what。
いやー、
thrilling
楽し
new
みだな。
adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay,
こんな
so
荒い
far it's an elevator.
荒いエレベーターでいいのか？
Yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a
なんだ？
mesmerizing adventure.
え？
Is it broken? What's going on here?
もしもし。
Should we
新コンテンツ出して。
somewhere or...
あ、よしよ
Oh,
し。
there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of
こい
Stanley
つ、
Parable
もしかし
Ultra
て
Deluxe.
一生これやるか？さては。
It's as if the...
あ、よかったよかった。なんだなんだ
Let's see the content.
そんな
Give me
透
the
かししないよな。
content, Stanley.
よかったよかった。結構ね、2000ちょいしたからな。そんな透かしするわけないしな。
All right, let's see it.
ジャンプサープ。
The jump circle?
お、ジャンプできるようになった。やったやったやった。マジこいつ。コンテンツ、ジャンプ。いいね。え、ジャンプできなかった。え、残りジャンプってそういうこと？おい。おいおいおいおい、どうにかしてくれって。
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
嘘だろ。こいつ。え、マジ？ああ。スペースをしても何も反応しねえ。 本当に。
Another elevator. Stanley,
コンテンツなんだからさ、もう少しさ、いいエレベーター用意してくんねえかな。
It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new
さっきのゲームの裏側よりひどいんだけど。
content? Then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there.
10時間分の
I
新コン
could
テンツ。
counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000
時間超えるし、
hours
絶対
of
そうじゃ
new
ん。
content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
で、ここにこれがある。あ、なんかある。Thank you for playing the new content.
You've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley?
クソゲ
This is
ー
what happens
クソ
when
ゲーの最後に書いてるやつじゃん。
developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy
下げられてるわ。
And don't get me started on the level
下げ
of
られました。
craftsmanship that's gone
あ、
into
なんか
it.
座
In
れない
fact,
か。
I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, Test achievement, please ignore. What quality assurance
これ
department
ベニエイト
signed
だ
up
し。
on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have
ちょっ
lived up
と
to such
DLC とかを追加し
expectations.
て
If you're
み
still
ま
with
したみ
me,
たいなゲームあるから
why
な。
don't we just
完全版み
reset
たい
the
な。
game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
えおい、新コンテンツだ。なんだ新コンテンツ、おい。え、知らない。え、新コンテンツ。えおい。新だな。
Stanley,
え
come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
ナレーターが協力してくれるのか、今度は。え大丈夫落ちて。え
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley
結
Parable
構
used
ね
to、be.
人気だったよ
So
ね。
I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
え
Just our little secret. Take
世界観変わったんだけど。スカイリムみたいなこと
I call it the memory zone.
またこのゲームなんか別ゲー出してるわ。 ネタ一つしかないんか。
Whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant
サイバルの新ページがある。
waste.
Not forget. 何これ本当これ出てたの本当に本当に出てたこれ。2014年、インデペンデントゲームスフェスティバル。あ、出たんだね。あ、じゃあこれも出てるんだろうね、マジ実際。スタンリーパルブルミュージアム。マジ。ただ買ってこうかな、とりあえず。おー。ザ・オリジナル・リメイク。あスマイル、because it happened. あ。嘘ついてない。No, go outside. なんで実績が貼ってあるんだ、そこに。 いうビデオゲーム。嘘ついてない。ゆっくり嘘をついてないか、こいつ。
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like
こういうゲームじゃないだろ。
triumph of games
こういう
journalism.
水くちゃくちゃみたいなところ
10 out
を
of
作
10 from
るような。
Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote,
権威を
Where
出
so
して
many
るな。
games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created. Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and
面白い、有名なゲームだから
the
ね。
original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim. It was Persona 3. It was all of them. And now it's nothing.
13年より前の
It's
ゲー
no
ム
games
は
at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A
いいのか、ここにペルソナとかスカイリムの名前出しちゃっ
hour
て。
of new elevator content.
まあまあ。左右の部屋とか、マインドコントロールとかね。はいはい。あ、なんでポータルの写真あんのここに。おい。お前の記憶じゃないだよ、それは。マインクラフトの写真も貼るな。嘘をつくな、嘘。すげえ嘘つくじゃん。こういう風に作ってんだ。あ、これは普通になんか、制作画面を出すな、マジで。お、声優もしかして。ナレーターの人これ。お世話になってます。じゃあ。メモリーゾーン。メンテナンスルーム。ああ。デジタルデラックス、違うなんか特別版みたいなやつなんだろうな。海外で売ってるんだろう、この。知らんやつ、なんかあれなんだろうな。まだ見てない分岐の写真とかもありそうだな。
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone.To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
あ、そっちは取れないんだけど。ジャンプさせてくれって。使ったソフトだな、さては。おい、使ったソフト置くなって。わかったから。
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give
it back
to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before.What's this? What's down here?
大丈夫？え？また別のゲーム？
God no! Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor.
Steam の販売レビュー集。
I can't even imagine what's
Steam
down here.
レビュー、コンテナがここに。見ようぜ、見ようぜ。正直このゲーム最後にプレイする気になれなかった。ナレーターが書いて面白くない。お、ナレーター怒るんじゃない？面白いという苛立ちか。まあまあまあ。
I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
結構レビュー届いてんね。よかったじゃん。1個のレビューがどれぐらいの換算だ。でもあれぐらいの板か。ここにもある。よかレビューが。実際にあるレビューなんだろうな、あれ。
Okay, let's see what this
よかレビューの方が多くない？
While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down.
めっちゃレビュー届いてんじゃん。よかったじゃん。
Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with explanations of what's
言われてるよ。
I wish there was
ひどい説明って。2014年に言われてるよ。
Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record.
That's
my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
裏にあるんじゃないかな。はい。こういうとこでジャンプ超えられたら楽なんだけどな。
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy reflections on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound observations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe...
Well,
there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, right at your I can't wait to see what Cooking 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, How do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort or a window or something like that. Is there a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, goodness, I have someone to talk to again. Stanley,
1週間
Or 2 weeks?
あ、本
I've
当
been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've always been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every punch. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe
観測者がいないと存在するか怪しいみたいな話？あ、まあまあ。始まりそう。長話始まりそう。そうかな、マジで。
I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the street. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself calmly with a collected heart, possibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt like an eternity.
あれ、死んだ？あ、気絶しちゃった。ああ。はい。え？ 鳴ってるけど。まあ、進めるか。
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a
こいつまだ喋ってる。
to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us.
死んだわけじゃないん
It
じゃ
wasn't
ない
enough. They had to leave a pathetic
なんで
little
怒
thumbs
ってんの
down review
急に
and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze stand in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being.
マジで作ってやろう
Have
と
you
思ったん
been
だろうな。
given to
マジで
indulging
めっ
every
ちゃスキップ
fleeting
ボタンに
whim
そうし
for
ようって
no
いう。
reason other than to
多
do
かったんだろ
so?
うな。
Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we
めっ
are
ちゃ
a
キレてるじゃ
people
ん、こ
living
い
in
つ。
such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people. Because otherwise, without our entertainment,
よくそんな出てくる話、
without
マジで。
entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deep nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing.
出た。ああ。
The end is never the end, is never
Ah,
the end,
狂っ
is
ちゃった。
never the end, is 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 never the end.
水が染み出してきてるけど。水中から出てきたからな、これ。え？映したんか？え？光だ。見てみるか。そうだった。ナレーターの人死んじゃってるし、何も出てこないから。
もう喋らないやん。
喋んなくなっちゃった。なんか世界終わった？世界終わった？草生えたじゃん、ない。え？何？何？化け物がいる？
なんて醜い画面なんだ。
あ、でも、あれだな。 ポツ出れるな。終わった。世界終わっちゃったわ。どうしようマジで。さまようしかできないわ。ナレーターの人も死んじゃったから。おい、どこ行きゃいいんだよ、ナレーター教えてくれ。終わった。いや、ボタンがある。
一回押してみればいいじゃん。
どうせな。ということでね、持ってきた。よかった。
All his co-workers were gone. What could
やっ
it
ぱ
mean?
いいな。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
会
Perhaps
議
he
室
had
行こう。やっ
simply
ぱ、
missed a memo.
さすがにちょっと会議室行ってあげよう。もう。変わった？
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
ニューコンテンツ。
同じだろうな、これ。同じことさすがに同じだろ、これ。あるぞ。同じだよ。さっきこんな感じじゃなかったもんな。どうかな。いや、一回無視しよう。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
今はね。何これ？To be rich is it a crime? To comment rhymes is isn't it rich? What a life it would be to have to pick just one. ね。そういう時もあるよね。わかるわかる。いけるんだけど。上行ってみるか。結構高いビルだね。だいぶ高くない？なかなか行くね。え？大丈夫？え？てんてんてんてんてんてんてんてんてん。いいね。いいか？ してってみるか。てんてんてんてんてんてんてんてんてんてんてんてんてん。ついた。そう。エレベーターじゃないじゃん、あれ。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss, Stanley, was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
おい、開けろって。なんだよ。準備できてないの？
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
ね。上行っちゃダメ？あ、上をしたはずなんだけどな。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
で、前ここ
Control
行ったんだよな。よ
Facility.
し、こっちだ。
Although this passageway had the word escape
Escape
written on
って書いてあったからな。
it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley
ああ、
would
非
meet
業の
his
支配。
violent death.
辛いね。
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to
うるせえ。
turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
か。さあ、何がある？エスケープできたの？何これ？え？あ、
As the machine whirred into motion and
まずい。
Stanley was inched closer and
あ、ま
closer
ず
to
い。
his demise,
弾丸論破だ。
he reflected that his life had
そうじゃ
been
な
of
く
no
て。
consequence
弾丸論破でこういう職業あったぞ。
Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man.
ごめんって。
And so he
マジ
resigned
で、マジでごめん。
and willingly
ごめんごめんごめ
accepted
ん。
this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell.
あ、そうね。そうなるよね。出して。ごめん。ごめん。マジごめん。ごめん。え？
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator,
よかった。
as Stanley was
助かった
led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
だからね、
In
下
a
に落ちてもら
single
って。
visceral instant,
なんか下にあるじゃん、
Stanley
通
was
路。
obliterated as the
起
machine
こしてくれ。
crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
マジ下行く？お、下行った。マジ弾丸論破じゃん。いや、出れるわ。ザ・スタンバリ、タイトルコー
And
ル。
yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
出れた。
When every path you can walk has been
壁
created
がない。
for you long in advance,
かもしれない。入り
death
口がない。
becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
あ、死亡説によくある。こういうゲームの。オフィスレイアウト。このブループリントでは、ゲームの開始時のオフィスの様子が見られます。これはスタンリーのオフィスから2つのドアまでの経路で、このゲームに設計された最初の部分です。なるほどね。最初の、そこまでの。はい。またミュージアム来たわ。いいっていう。このゲームミュージアム好きだな。 各棟のレイアウトは最初のものとほぼ同じです。はいはいはい。風景がね。はい。単両パソコン。はいはい。廊下。この冒頭部分のテンポが重要で、この廊下を動かしたり変更したりして、プレイヤーがいいタイミングで本堂へたどり着くようにしています。飛ぶ棚。今度は、この2つのドアというセットがかなり初期の段階でスタンリー・パルプのデザインの具体的なものの一つとなりました。この部屋を作ることで、その延長線上にゲームの内容が現れ、この部屋がもたらす矛盾を保って、作っていくことになりましたと。いいっす。反応と。このゲームを通してボタンを押した時に使われたサウンドセレクションです。各サウンドは、シンセサイザーの色とキーボードのストロークをミックスして作られています。聞いたことないけど、この音。この音してた？なんか、いいシーンじゃん。オフィスのパソコン。ゲームやんな。クレジット。終わりか？ゲームクリアした？上司のオフィス。最初ね。こういう感じだったけど、こういう風に作られてったんだ。開発時の。はいはいはい。オフィスの時計。これ、ナレーションしてる人いる？ナレーションアウトテイク。ナレーターの声を担当したケビン・ブリンティングは2年間のゲーム開発中、3回に分けてゲーム全体について評価をしました。これは最終的にストールされなかった初期テイクからのクリップです。
It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively if you had even the most fundamental understanding.
地下ね。はいはいはい。さっきあったとこだね。ラウンジ。このゲーム好きだな、こういうのマジで。フリーダムエンド。このゲームのアルファ版でのフリーダムエンドの最初の姿。カウントダウンデスク。カウントダウンエンドの初期バージョンに登場したく作るの。知らないです。やめて。ネタバレ。フリーダムエンド。こちらベータ版にあったフリーダムエンドの、ですと。モニタールームエレベーター。一時期モニタールームのエレベーターは上下に動き、上がフリーダム、下がカウントダウンとなっていました。プレイヤーが上が何で、下が何であったか、覚えるの大変だということで、これをやめ、2つのエンディングを一緒にしました。なるほどね。カウンタールーム。カウンタールームの初期バージョン。ゲームデザインモックアップ。ゲームデザインのウィリアムによって作られたレベルで、オーディションの一つのような形でライターのダーボーイに送ったものです。このレベルにより、ウィリアムがゲームデザイン全体を担当することになりました。状況変わりましたが、このモックアップのベーシックレイアウトにもゲームに残っています。ここら辺ネタバレっぽいな。見るのやめようかな。これネタバレっぽいな。見るのやめよう。さっさと次行こう。で、分岐と。はいはい。出るか、じゃあ。ナレーターのメール。 2回目の予告の後、ナレーターへの質問メールを募集していました。当初これに潜在材料にしようと企画していたのですが、完璧な使い道を見つけられませんでした。ここにそのメールの一部を紹介します。読めないって。これは、from How is the games? これはゲームですか？How? ちょっと、英語は無理だ。終わってる。英語できん。最初のね、オフィスが変わってったと。最初はこうだったけど、企画がどんどん進むにつれてこういう風になっていった系かね。はいはい。なんかこのゲーム始めて、なんか1時間ちょいなんだけど、こういうところ見るまでまだ、このゲーム入れ込んでないんだけどな。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path.
テープと終了する？
Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
電話出なかったら、あれでも電話ってこっちのルートじゃないなさ。ミスった。
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah blah blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes.
もう押すまでもない。ありがとうね。押しても一緒なんだよ。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
ミスったからね、ナレーター君が。
Now the monitors jumped to life. Their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
あれなんだろう。いけないか。そういえば、スタンリーは何番だっけ ?427 とかだよね、確か。あれか。やっぱ、あそこの部屋だな。 いないなって出ちゃってるから。実際人も全部いないからな、多分。
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been
ここで
manipulated
本
to
来分
accept
岐する
him
つもりだったけ
blindly?
ど、やめましたみたいな書いてた。
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
3番どこだ？これか。あ、5番だわ。これっすか、3番か。3番。あ、違うの。4番のボタンどこ？4番のボタンどこだろう。ないなぁ。4番のボタン向こうの人だったっけ？行ってみるか。ちげえわ。4番のボタンがない。どこだ？なんか見た気がするけどな。やっぱないか。やっぱないか。ないこれか。なんで4番だけないんだ？とりあえずあのボタンを押し、奥のボタンのマインドコントロールをオフにするが前回押したから、オンにする押すか。
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just
ネットワークに
initiated
緊
the
急爆破シス
network's
テム
emergency detonation system.
やっ
In
ちゃ
the
った。
event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until
爆弾。
detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes.
え
Ah, now this is making things a little more
ど
fun,
うしよ
isn't
う
it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much
開いた。
better than
開い
what
てる
I
これ。
had in mind. What a
そ
shame
れか。
there's so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is.
何番 ?4 番
More
4番
time
だ。
to talk about
1、2、3、4、5。
about me. Where we're going.
そうね。全部順番に押していこう。
I
とりあえ
barely
ず。
know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
3番が
Alright,
こっ
I'm
ち
in
か。
a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course,
やべえ、あ
that
と
was
1分しか
merely
ない。
in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing
いや、
everyone inside.
これの時になっ
or
て
I let
こ
it
こ開いたってことは
turn
絶
to
対意味があるはずだか
I
ら
have to say this though, this version of events has been
やるべきなんだこれ
rather
絶対
Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know
Achoo.
what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh,
Nani?
really? What's the matter, Stanley?
あのボタンか
Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running
なんだなんだなんだ何をしたらいいんだ
screen to
5
screen,
番
clicking on every little thing in this room. These
4番あなるほど
No, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button. Or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have
Me?
any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just
あー色のボタンを押すのか
You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for
なるほ
every
ど
moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control
あもう
this
全ボタン
world,
押す
that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds
Okay.
until a big boom and then no
あこれだ
ending. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully?
あなんかモニターに映ってる
Another
の違う
choice. Make it count.
あちょ
It's all
All
a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every
出し
second
て
of the inevitable
出して
moment we fade in until the moment
まず
I
い
say
あ
happily ever
あ
after.
あああ帰ろ
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes,
これ
I
さっ
have
き言っ
something
たけど
very
なんかこれ買っ
exciting
たけ
to
ど
show
関係あ
you.
んのかなこれ増えたの意味あんのか見るか関係なかったら一回このループ切ろうあれなんだろうあやっぱりね
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable. and about how roundly disappointing
ああ、ジャンプ回数残してジャンプできそうなとこ行くみたいな感
The
じ。
original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time
こんな感じだったっけ？
the Stanley
え？
Parable.
新コンテンツだ。やったー。
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few
なんだ。
minor additions?
あ、
Think of all the new
楽しみ。
territory
なん
with
だ。
a fully fledged
いや
sequel.
ー、
An
今度は
entirely
別のところに
new
閉じ込められたやつか
built
な。
from the ground up. Why there are so many
あ、2だ。
possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
現代風のオフィスだね。
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think?
そうね。
Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2,
1から2。
now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
案があるんだね。開かないな。
Now, to be clear, I
Stanley
haven't quite
Parable 2
nailed
が、まあ、
down
ど
what
のようにな
exactly
る
the
か明
Stanley
確じゃない。
Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the
開発
features I've
開
been
発中なの
developing
マジで。
for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting
This way
concepts,
to
that
the
surely the
勝負
game
を
will sort of naturally
見せてくれよ、
spring
見
up
せてくれよ。
around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
楽しみ。おー、なんか結構、すごい。
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new
ま
features.
た黄色いボタン。あ、T シャツ売ってる。あの QR コードマジで読み込めないかな。読み込んでみるか。スタンリーパルブル 2.com ってページが開かれたんだけど。ああ。なるほどね。か。これね。
URL 省略。
なるほどね。楽しみ2。どっから行こうかな。このゲームをプレイしている人の名前言うボタン。ちょっと怖いわ。さっきですか。ははは。ああ、いいね。無限の穴。あっか。あ、ジャンプサークルあんじゃん。ちゃんと。ここはジャンプサークル。0回なんだな。
Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's oh wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
引き継ぎ ジャンプ回数引き継ぎってマジかよ。出口か。おしゃれだなぁ。コンテンツ、全部、オール。ね、これ。Collectibles.
Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
やったーマジでこういう画面出てくるんだ。おもろ。
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
フリーアチーブメントってどういうこと？
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Oh. クリックしたら開かないかな。やっぱいけそうじゃない？俺はこのゲーム信じてる。クリックし続けたら、めちゃくちゃ実績が出てくるとか、ないか。なんか、やらないと思うんだよな、そんなこと。このゲーム。実績出してくれよ。外れたな、手が。だからこんなガレージみたいなの入ってんのか。まあ、できてないから。
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
弦の穴見てないですね。
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
You
know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
こいつ、天の弱返却していきやがった。
Maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
のバケツ。
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered chaotic despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms.
お前の意見ゲロだから、
It's a much more
ここに入っ
convenient
とけって言
solution
って
for
ってこ
me
とな。
than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
え、いいの？
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a
この
person.
ゲームでこういう風なアイテムの
The
持ち方して
benefits
る
of
の
the
初めて
bucket
見
seem
た
to
わ。
go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
やってきます。このバケツずっと持ってる。
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
一生ついてくるんだろうな。無限の穴？
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall
永遠
down
に落ち続けることができるわな。
Infinite falling.
ポー
You
タル
can
じゃん。
fall until
ポータル
the
になるよ。
end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
はあ。
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
あ、
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a...
え?
Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
いや、まだあるかもしれない。俺は信じてるよ、ナレーターのこと。下の、蓋が外されて、もっと下に深く落ちていくみたいなのあるんでしょ？分かってるって。ナレーターのこと信じてるから。おい、ナレーター黙るな。マジで。マジでなんもない。なさそう。
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more. Oh,
あれ
for
また落ちちゃった。
You see? I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes
閉
too
じてみる
much.
か。
Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
落ちてみるか。
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. I really do have so much more to show you and to talk about, and I've had enough of the hole for a lifetime. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay.
はーい。
Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point. It's more of a concavity, or even a very aggressive divot. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do. Hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest.
ちょっと行かないで。おい、行くな。おい。こっから出せって。おい。終わった。車乗って帰った。G をしてるんだけど。あ、なんだ、下がってくれるじゃん。なんだこの音楽。え了解です。ああ、ついつい。 フィルター変えてるだけだろ、これ。なんだこのゲーム。あ、逆になってんだこれ。これサムネにしよう。おもろいわ。
Stanley? 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 Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
出せって、おい。始まるん、また。終わった？あ、ここから。
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
バケツもう持ってるけど。バイク2個目取れる。取れないか。穴どうなってるかな。紙か。いえ、それっぽいこと書いてるけど、全部嘘。あ、閉鎖されてる。うん。Z はなんだあれか。販売店か。帰るか、じゃあ。面白かったな。いやー、2も出たら買いたいな。
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
うん。見た見た。よかった。また呼んでよ。なんか
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
まあ、そうだよね。今あったやつを全部見つけただけだ、ね。
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes. Yes, this is much better. I
なんてねってないやつは難しいだね。
Here we go. Version 2.
配置変えただけだ。
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of
2個ある
gags.
し、全部。
And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
え、もうパラブル2できる？なんか、新しいゲームみたい。やっぱり、そう、1はね、言うて、2013年のゲームだから、まあでもこうだよね。実際、こういうことだもんな。じゃあ、セッティング。進めよう。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made in his job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened.
Stanley Parable 2
that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed him. Stanley picked up the bucket.
バケツ大切だからな。穴は
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
これあえて右行ってあげよう。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
バケツが登場人物みたいになってる。お、やった。
Found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
かない。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Oh.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
新規収録したんだろうな、バケツっていうのを加えて。帰るか。
But of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for.
どうしようかね。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
全部にババケツがついてるわけだから。
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
バケツが泣き出しそうになってるじゃん。
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for
すごいバケツこするな。スタンリー2バケツ推しなんだ。
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
こんなんじゃなかったけど、
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it
かわいいね。
This wasn't a mind control facility at all.
え、
It was a
マインド
facility
コントロール施設じゃ
for
ない。
monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley...
あ、出た、スタンリーは幸せでした。おい。こんなんなのか、おい、お前。続編について、続編は。
Sitting there, Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
あるな、どうしようかな。バケツ取るとバケツ押しになるからな。そっか。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone who thinks, Stanley. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
あれ取りてー。
Not asking for me,
どっから行けるあれ。
for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
ね。
That's her, Stanley. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check.
はい。あ、また壊しそうゲーム。
It's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional
video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back sack and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Now
that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality. Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending. The story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No!
Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
壊しちゃった。ごめん。もう一回。もう一回か。ダメだ。大丈夫そう？大丈夫そう。よかった。
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe after everything we talked about that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down in time? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
なに
I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You. Who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make... behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. Right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back.
ごめんって。怒んないで。
That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
やりてあげようか。よしよしよし。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, いけないね。じゃあ、いけない。変わってる。
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Night Shark 115.
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
Night Shark 115. Oi.
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, they can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
ボイスチャットがあんのかこのゲーム。おい。できないんだけど。
Okay, fine, you're not
違
going
うか
to
ら。
it, but you know
お
what?
い。
It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
おい。
Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice.
The end.
I need you to walk through the door. Are you
ナレー
listening
パラブ
to
ウ
me?
ルトラデラックス。
Can you hear me? Is everything
Ah.
alright?
What
Stanley, this is
the-
important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a
ウィ
decision.
リアム。
It cannot
ウィリアムい
exist
る、ま
without
た
you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is
マジで
just
作って
fine.
るんだな、ウィリアム
You
が。
can't be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice.
ごめんね、リロイ。
It's all right.
誰
I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
え何こここれで終わろうと思ったんだけどな。ちょうど一緒終わるかっつって。終わるかと思ったんだけど、何
All
こ
of
れ
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ちょっと待って、これ2。これが2ってこと
Stanley went
Quite-
around
quite
touching
got
every... Stanley
buckets
lifted the
of pickle.
bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
We can find them. わからないですね、英語は。あれか。お、開く方。
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
ないよな、でも。開く。別にな。どっか行けるわけでもないだろうな。これは。進まないんだよな、これ。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
あのボタンオフにしてみるか。
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door
escape
that
してみる
read
か。
Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
無限の穴に比べたら、こんぐらいね。はい。バケツくん頑張ろうね。
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
このおばさんもバケツの話してる。
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket.
ないかな、
It's true that
サ
all
ンディの
buckets
像。
are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
え？バケツの説明してる？バケツ大展示会ご来場お待ちしております。あなたは今知識の崖に立っています。人の精神はたびたびバケツないか。バケツの説明。
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
なんでこんなバケツこするんだこのゲーム。めっちゃバケツこするじゃん。あ、バケツが光に包まれていく。はあ。25個のバケツ。25個のバケツ。幸福感から数週間にわたり緊張性ショック。強力な魅力を持つバケツの支配をめぐり、数十カ国が戦争を引き起こしました。これが地獄バケツか。ね、これ。あるある、こういうところあるわ。これあるよな、ミュージアムに。この絵。昔からバケツってあったんだな。
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
前にひざまずくのは人間。バケツ教みたいな話。お？あ、取っちゃった。
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
あ、やべ。
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
ああ、バケツも一緒に壊れたけどいいんですか？また変わってるよ。変わってる気になるから言っちゃうよな、こんな。
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
いや、ここ下を行って。
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
ここから行けるんじゃないか?
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
え、なにこれ?
You see,
おい、あのラインまだここ続いてんの?
Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
ああ、さっきやったやつだ。これあれだろうな、マジで。前作ちゃんとやった人からするとめっちゃ嬉しいんだろうな。
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you say, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see,
バケツは愛されキャラだろ。やめろって。
You would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of bucket destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the bucket destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the bucket destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
やば。え
The bucket destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were.
で、バケツデストロイヤーが死んじゃった。まあ、バケツデストロイヤーはもうボットエクのキャラクターだから。バケツの方がいいから。スタンリーパラブル2バケツ押しすぎじゃない？多分2だけど、まだ多分2だよな。2だな。か。スタンリーパラブル、おもろ。めっちゃおもろいわ、スタンリーパラブル。今日はね、終わるんですが。じゃあ、お疲れ様でした。